I am Michael Kurosh. I live in Santa Barbara, California, one of the most beautiful places on earth. My design center is where people come to reimagine their homes and spaces. I work with the best designers, clients with broad tastes, and experts who navigate the fascinating world of design. I'm always excited to learn something new, and I never say no to a challenge. This is Design Santa Barbara. Welcome to Design Santa Barbara. I'm Michael Kurosh, and today we are excited to be in Santa Barbara Design Center talking with Maureen McDermott of Sotheby's International Realty. Maureen is among the top 1% of Sotheby's agents nationwide, and we are going to be discussing what it's like to buy and sell in Santa Barbara and where the real estate market is heading. Maureen, very welcome to our show.
Well, thank you, Michael, for having me. I'm excited.
Well, you know, it is many years that I know you.
It is.
And it's so nice to have you finally on our show.
Well, thank you so much. I mean, living in Santa Barbara now 22 years. We started out, actually, when we first bought our first house. We came here and bought a lot of our things here.
I know, I remember. Especially the rugs, I remember.
I know, yeah. It's true.
Well, that is so nice to have you, and you have turned to be one of the most successful real estate agents anywhere.
Well,
and congratulations on that. And
thank
I
you.
know it's not easy, it's a lot of work, but we are very lucky to be in Santa Barbara doing this.
Well, I feel blessed, actually. Last year was a terrific year. I did wind up being the #1 agent for Santa Barbara Sotheby's.
Congratulations.
And, but you know, it doesn't happen by accident. It does take a lot of hard work, as you just said. And you know, a lot of times people think, oh, it looks like it's so easy. It is easy. It just takes 20 years of practice.
It is not easy. Even after 20 years, I know,
no,
but
it's not.
You're really good at it,
Yeah.
and you're very friendly. And
Well, I have a great team behind me also. So
Wonderful.
you know, it's a community action together with our little team, and they all have our working parts.
Wonderful. So it's a pleasure having you. We have some questions. Our viewers are eager to know about the real estate and what you do.
Okay.
So tell us about yourself and how you came to be a real estate agent.
How did I become real estate? You know, I should have become a real estate agent a long time ago, because the first house I actually sold was for my father in Los Angeles, long before I had a real estate license, but I could do it because it was for sale by owner. It was a house he had purchased and then didn't have a need for it anymore. And I said, well, I'll sell it for you. And that was in my 20s. I had so much fun. I thought, that was great. Didn't go into the business then, went into banking for 20 years. So I was in private banking, both in Los Angeles and in New York. And my clients were high net worth individuals. So it was a very high level of customer service. And I was in the lending side. And I'll tell you how that led into my being in real estate. Subsequent to the banking, I went into mortgage lending. And in the 90s, you had to get your real estate license to be a mortgage lender in California. So our team said, well, let's go get our real estate license because we're doing the mortgage lending. That led over time into my going into starting in commercial real estate. And the difference between commercial real estate and residential is commercial is numbers driven and it's not emotionally driven, whereas residential real estate is very emotionally driven. You know, you're normally dealing with somebody's largest asset that they're buying, and there's a lot of emotion that goes into that. Whereas commercial, it's, do the numbers work? You know, what's the cap rate? Does it work? So when we did move to Santa Barbara 22 years ago, I transitioned into residential. And I've just had a blast ever since.
And 22 years ago, you just started and don't look back.
Yeah, pretty much. What I did find is that the banking background was very beneficial. A lot of people would come into my open houses, which were much more prominent 20 years ago than they were in the past 2 or 3 years because of COVID. And I started my business on open houses. I remember when I joined Pitts & Bachman, which was then purchased by Sotheby's, the office manager said, well, we will pay to send out welcoming cards for you. And I said, well, you can save your stationery because I don't know anybody here. So I really did not know. I knew one person. So it got going from there. And I
Wonderful.
built my business and started predominantly selling in the Riviera, believe it or not, which is a beautiful part. We call it the American Riviera. And that was my first listing, was in the Riviera. And I built my business from there. And of course, it's grown to where I sell all of Santa Barbara now.
Wonderful. Very good. You deal in some extremely high-end homes. Talk about your experiences selling properties here in Santa Barbara.
Well, selling in Santa Barbara, obviously it's a magical town and it's a wonderful place to sell. And I'm working with buyers that are from all parts. They're not just from Santa Barbara. And I do have the opportunity and fortune to sell a lot of high-end homes. But I also sell what we call
Still
starter
average
homes.
Yes.
Yeah, I sell
Not every
average
house
homes.
is $20 million.
No, it's not. And I will say I have one requirement, that my clients are nice. That's my one requirement of who becomes people I work with. And it's important because it becomes a team. When you're helping somebody buy a house or sell a house, you really are becoming a team. And everybody has a certain role in that. How are we going to get to that, whether you're a seller or a buyer? The needs of people at a high end or a low end are still the same. They're looking for a home for their family. They're looking for, sometimes it's a second home, sometimes it's a primary home. The size of the home doesn't matter. The cost of the home doesn't matter. People are human and they usually come with the same desires, needs, and expectations.
I hear a good kitchen helps a lot emotionally.
It does. It does.
What sets our community apart from the rest?
Oh gosh, Santa Barbara it's really a special community. We're a seaside town. It used to, a long time ago, 20 years ago, had the reputation. Santa Barbara was for the newlyweds and the nearly dead.
Yes,
that was
that's
because we had so many, we have so many universities. We have, Westmont Christian University in Montecito. We have Santa Barbara City College, which is the #1 city college in the nation. Then we have UCSB that has just come shooting up the
Tremendous,
ranks
yes.
over the past 20 years. So we have a lot of younger people here. The nearly dead came from people that came back after retirement and they said, well, I want to buy in Santa Barbara. And I would always ask my buyers, well, how did you find Santa Barbara? And often the answer was, I did one semester here in college, or I went to high school here, or I grew up here, but now I've gone away and I can come back.
That's
So-
literally like half my clients.
Yeah, seriously.
They're coming back
no,
people,
they're
very true.
coming back people because they couldn't afford, there was not a large job market here. When I first started in real estate, the largest employer was Raytheon.
Raytheon.
And now the largest employer in Santa Barbara is UCSB. So there's never been a plethora of jobs for when you graduate and before you retire. So people had to move elsewhere to create their wealth, to get a job. And now with the influx of being able to work remotely, we find that that blending of all ages is being able to come here because we do have a burgeoning tech society going on, a lot of jobs, and people are able to live and work here, and that's new. So that has changed the profile of the person who is being able to look and live here.
It's a very special place we are living. It's
Yeah.
just amazing. It's just
Yeah.
the people, the weather helps a lot.
Oh.
And that's, I think, the main draw for everybody else. It makes it beautiful and they can do whatever they want to do 12 months out of a year.
I say to people, I say, look, you may have to pay a weather tax here.
It is the weather tax.
It's worth it.
Yeah.
And I say to people, our average temperature is 72, and if it becomes 71, people say, oh, it's kind of cold today. And if it gets 73, it's like, oh, it's so warm today. I mean, we have this median
are spoiled.
temperature, and I deal with a lot of clients that move here, and they just say, God, the weather. I know.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's just amazing.
It is.
Last season, we profiled the Olive Mill house that you represented.
Yes.
Can you share some details from that project?
Oh, I can. I have to say, in my 20 years, and goodness knows how many houses I've sold, that actually was one of my most favorite houses. And the reason why is because Olive Mill Road was named after that house. It was one of the original houses in Montecito, and it was originally an olive mill in 1893, and then was converted to a residence in 1905. So the fact that I was able to represent the seller and in a house that to me is so significant to Montecito was really a pinnacle for me in my career. It was nice. I was brought into the project. It did unfortunately suffer a little bit of debris flow damage, mostly on the landscaping on the property. So I was brought in when they're about 90% finished with what they had, re-landscaping and painting, etc. And I wanted to just honor the owner and honor the house.
Nice.
So I really focused on the provenance of the house, and it was presented in a beautiful fashion.
It was a beautiful home, I remember, and the landscaping was very nicely done afterwards.
Yeah,
and
no, it was.
Beautiful.
We did enough to give a potential seller, and the buyer is thrilled, and I'm really excited to see what they do. They're from Seattle, want a second home down here, and have a older home in Seattle, and saw this and just fell in love. And we wanted somebody, particularly my seller, really wanted somebody who was going to be a good caretaker and steward of the house going forward.
Beautiful, very nice. We have seen many homes that are staged by designers. How can staging help you with your job? It helps me with my job. I know I sell a lot of stuff, but it doesn't help you.
No, actually it does help me. It helps me a lot. In fact, going back to Olive Mill, that's a great example. There was no way I could take 7,000 square feet and show that as a blank slate. People do have vision, but a lot of people don't. So a lot of times it's easier if you can bring in, and we brought in Lisa.
Yes.
Lisa did a fabulous job.
Lisa always does good
She does. And I was really pleased with the results, and I think Lisa was as well. When she came in, she laid out a statement and an idea. And often when we stage houses, and Lisa and I talked about it, she goes, well, who do you think the profile of your buyer is? And I said, I really envision a family. I think we have a family coming in here. It could be a family, could be just a couple with a family. And that's in fact what it was. It was a couple, but they have adult children who will come in with their spouses and significant others. So when we go to stage a house, whether it's Olive Mill or wherever, you always kind of think, who is my buyer? And you want to lay the staging that will speak to them. And that in fact is what we did in that house.
It's not an easy job. A lot of people think, oh, they can put a couch here and chair there and it looks like stage.
No.
It actually is a profession. It's completely different thing. And you need to get into the psyche of the buyer and also please the seller, by the way. So, you know, and it's a very tricky thing, but it makes the house sellable much faster for more money.
Absolutely. And what I do explain to sellers often is, and they, you know, yes, I am blessed with selling a lot of nice houses, but I will say, you know, if we tweak it a little bit, I think we can improve and present a more complete picture. And I will ask people to put things aside and maybe bring in some furnishings and such.
Very nice. Thank you. So I have a lot more questions. Stay tuned. We will be right back with more Design Santa Barbara after the break. Welcome back to Design Santa Barbara. Today we are with the noted Sotheby's International Realty Agent, Maureen McDermott. Maureen, thank you for being here. I appreciate you as a friend, as a client, and not as a TV show star. Here you are. We have some questions for you, and I would appreciate it. Me and the viewers would love to know. What is the #1 piece of advice you offer to your buyers and sellers?
Oh, great question, particularly in this market. Let's start with sellers.
Yes.
Sellers think, wow, I hear the market's really hot and everything is great and things are just flying off the shelf. You know, let's just put it on the market. And you know, that is true. Things are moving quickly, but preparation is always 80% of the job, and then the execution is maybe 20%. And you have to do the preparation first. So for any seller that's looking to sell their house, I would say, you know, we always forget when you've lived in a house for a while that you don't notice the scuff marks on the wall, or you don't notice that maybe the door frame needs a new fresh coat of sanding or some paint. So what I would do is I would always walk your house first before you even consider going on the market. I always encourage people to get a pre-home inspection, so that, and get your pest inspection, get your inspections done up front. That way it is, when you go on the market, you've gone on the market knowing what flaws may be there. A buyer knows, and they know that you've placed your house on the market at a certain price, knowing that they have these things they may have to fix. Or you, in fact, as a seller, may want to take the time to repair those certain items that came up. Or, if it's a pest report, you may give somebody credit. But that is totally preparation. And I also encourage a seller to do some cosmetic updating if it's necessary. Paint is one of the cheapest things you can do.
Yes. It makes the most impact, actually.
It makes the most tremendous impact. I will tell you, that does. And the second really is staging. If you need to go staging, but we'll hold that for a thought. I want to finish other things I would do with the seller before you go on the market. Get your home inspections done first. See if there's any work that you want to complete up front. Do some painting. Look at your landscaping. We're going into springtime. It's maybe time to trim some hedges. Maybe it's time to plant some new flowers. Make it inviting. And I will say, it's interesting. I had a client, now a dear friend, say to me once, she always goes to the back of a house because everybody thinks about the front of your house as being, oh, let's all make it pretty up front. But what does the back look like? And if the back looks as manicured as the front, i.e., are the gardening tools put away correctly and is everything nice and tidy, it gives you an indication that somebody does care about the complete picture. And I thought that was always interesting.
Wow.
I never forgot that comment. But those are the things I would encourage the seller to do. Do your homework up front, do your pre-inspection, do your work. And I do that with all of my clients. I walk through and I say, house is great. I think we can take it up a little bit more of a notch. And normally I see what a buyer will see. Although I do a lot and have a lot of listings, I also represent buyers. So when I go into my listings, I can tell them what a buyer is going to be looking for. And I look at a house as a buyer is going to look at it. And those are the items that I highly encourage my sellers to fix.
And how about the buyers?
The buyers, because now we have buyers. So buyers have been in a difficult spot the last 2 years. We have had very low inventory. We continue to have low inventory. And we have high demand. So the best way a buyer can prepare themselves is to first, and I do this, when somebody isn't from the area, or even if they are and they want to buy a new house, I drive in the neighborhoods with them so that they understand where they possibly want to live. And it's more about deleting the areas you don't want to live and focusing on the ones that you do. So now we've identified where a buyer wants to live. We then can go, and I encourage them, if they're going to be getting a loan, get your pre-approval letter. Don't just get a pre-qual, go get pre-approved. Get the whole process done as far as you can. If you're going to be paying cash, get your verification of funds. Or if you don't want to, I always encourage people, if you have a wealth manager, just have them write a letter for you. So they can say, yes, Mr. and Mrs. Jones can afford or purchase a house up to this dollar amount. But when you're a buyer, you are typically in a competitive situation because we have so many multiple offers. Be ready, be prepared. Go in, have your information ready to go so that your agent can just write the offer and you can hand it in. Don't be fumbling with, oh, I've got to go get my approval done now. Well, the offers are due on Tuesday, because sellers are putting short time frames on when offers are due. It's not uncommon for a house to go on the market on a Thursday and offers are now due on a Monday. You don't have time to be preparing. So for buyers, I always say be prepared, know what you're looking for, know what you're willing to take on. Those are kind of the things that I encourage for both my buyers and sellers. Be prepared. Be prepared. But that's really a motto in life.
Yes.
I tell my children, whatever you're doing, be prepared. So much easier.
I agree with you 100%. How has the past 2 years affected the real estate market as we talk?
All right. Well, how it's affected the market, historically, our buyers, for every 4 houses that sold in Santa Barbara, 3 of the buyers were buying that already lived in Santa Barbara, and 1 person was newly coming into the area. In the past 2 years, for every 4 houses that are sold, 2 houses are purchased by people already within Santa Barbara, and 2 are people moving into the area. So that in itself shows that we've got a new
demographic.
Demographic coming into town, and that's okay.
I love it, actually. It's not only okay, I love it. It's just good to get a fresh blood, turn around and see something new.
Yeah, you do. I like it as well. I'm always concerned about making sure that the people that live in Santa Barbara can still afford to remain in Santa Barbara.
Yes, that's true.
So that's I'm always sensitive to that
We
as
need
well.
more building.
We need more building. And you know what, Michael, that is one of the problems across the nation right now. Home building was stalled across the nation, so we don't have that new inventory coming on. And that has impacted part of our clog in the wheel.
Yes.
People would like to move, but they have nowhere to go. So that has impacted the last 2 years. We don't have any new building. People are nervous to sell their house because they don't know where they're going to go. So it's been a process.
It's a challenge, but
It's been
I'm
a
pretty
challenge.
sure things will change. So that's
I think
another
they
question.
will. Yeah.
Where do you see the market going?
Where I see it's going, it's interesting. I have read a lot of reports that say they believe this market is going to continue, listen to this, until 2024 because of the lack of inventory, and the demand will not be absorbed until 2024.
Wow.
And we do have, I know, I can't believe it. Now, those analyses were done probably in the last several months, but we have some things that have impacted lately. We have a war going on. We have inflation. We have interest rates are rising. So those are some factors that I think are going to slow down the market. You know, people buy by payment. They don't buy by price of a house. You know, not everybody pays cash. And people, what I mean by that, by payment by price, if an interest rate goes up 1%, then your payment goes up. It means that's less that you qualify for. It means that's less that you can buy. So that's what I mean by people buy by payment, not by price of a house. So with the interest rates going up, it is going to impact what people can afford. We do have a fair amount, almost up to 40% of our sales are cash in some areas of town, but the other portion are getting a loan. So we're going to see, I think, it slow down personally.
I actually think if you're selling is a good time to sell because
Selling
I see this
is
thing happening a few times around.
I would, yeah, having done this for 20 years, I've been in all the different markets. If I were a seller, I would highly consider selling right now.
Yes, if you were a buyer,
I would, you know, if I was a buyer, I would still try and get my feet into the pond.
yes. All right, so next question. What are some of the common steps you have to walk buyers and sellers through during the process?
I have learned that if a seller is selling, obviously they bought a house sometime, but I'll say to a seller, well, when was the last time you bought a house? And sometimes they bought something, other investment properties, or done other things like, well, when I bought this house, 30 years ago. The process has changed. So I always walk a buyer and a seller actually through the process. On a seller, this is what's going to happen and this is how it's going to happen. And just because we've negotiated and we're under escrow, there's another negotiation period that comes up after inspections are done. So it's really important to communicate, and I feel I do that well with my clients because I don't want them to have any surprises, particularly when you're dealing with somebody's, usually their largest asset or one of their largest, or it's also an emotional, somebody's selling a house because they got a new job or somebody died, or sometimes there's emotion involved with why they're selling. So I'm always sensitive to make sure that there's no surprises in the listing process or the selling process. You just have to stay on top of it. So I want everybody advised what's going to go on. And then on the buy side, I have a lot of clients that have never purchased in California before. In other states, we don't have title. Well, they have title, but they don't have escrow. We have lawyers that handle all the transaction. And they say, well, I can't close on that day. I'm not going to be here. I'm like, well, it doesn't matter. We don't have a closing table. So it really comes down to education. And I like to keep my buyers as educated and as I am and how the process works. And I also like a buyer educated into the market so that when they've gone back home and I can say, oh, a new house just came up in the area that you want. They know what that area is because we have covered it clearly in all of our expeditions out together. So for me, a buyer needs to be highly educated on the area, and then it's up to me to walk them and a seller through the escrow process.
Needless to say, you're successful because you have this depth of knowledge and you convey to your clients, and that's what made you where you are.
Well, thank you. I'd like to thank, again, the banking background helps, and I have a great team.
Very good. Last but not least, Do you often maintain friendships with your clients after the sale or purchase?
No, I do. I always tell my clients, I said, you know, you're stuck with me. Because in all kidding aside, I am an agent that is not there just for the transaction. I always say to people, I really want to be in your real estate life forever. I'm not here just for the one transaction. And rest assured, that's kind of how it works. I say, so you're kind of stuck with me and we're going to be friends. Just last year I sold a house for some people that, gosh, I think I sold a house in 2001. And we maintain friendships, and I do tend to maintain communication and friendships with my clients. Because remember when I first moved here, I didn't know anybody.
Yes.
So I had to create my own little
circle of friends,
if you will. So I said to my husband, these are all going to be our friends. And I think water seeks its own level. And you do tend to gravitate to people that are like-minded. And I've had some wonderful like-minded clients that have turned into very good friends over the past 20 years. In fact, I don't know if you have time, but I have some clients that just bought a house in Hope Ranch, and they've done a beautiful job. I'd love to take you over and show you.
I'd love to see it.
Do you have time?
It is in Hope Ranch. It's not that far, so we can go there. Yeah.
Great. I
Today?
love that. If you can.
Yeah, love to.
All right.
Okay, here we go. I would like to thank Maureen for taking time to speak with us, and I'm excited to see this property she's talking about. We will be right back. We live in one of the most beautiful locations in the world. I've raised my kids here. I love it here. What we offer at Santa Barbara Design Center isn't just furniture. It's a chance to turn a house into a home. What may look like a deal online, it's very different when it shows up. It's something to be said for feeling it before it becomes part of your life. We are here to help guide you through this wonderful process. We are Santa Barbara Design Center. Come start your journey with us. Maureen, thank you very much for taking us on this beautiful tour out of the store.
You're welcome.
And this is the house that one of your clients has for sale and hired you to sell it.
They have, and I'm so excited to show it to you. They finished an amazing remodel. It's been transformed, and I'm really excited for you to see it inside.
I would love to see this house from inside because it's my 4th time I come to this house.
And so you'll see the different transformations.
Love to see the transformation and how it looks up. Well, then we will wait until next week.
All right.
Thank you for joining us on Design Santa Barbara. See you next week on this fabulous homes tour.